Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rawia. My podcast will be a bit narrative. It's about a story behind one of the greatest storytellers, Francis Scott Fitzgerald. This part will cover um, his story, his life story. It's mostly like an autobiography of the author. His influence on the American literature, the American dream. This will be highlighting the podcast, his most notable works, his recurring themes, the literary theories that is mostly applied in his writing. And we will also focus on The Great Gatsby, which is included in our course. But before we understand The Great Gatsby, we need to understand the man who wrote it, Francis Scott. He wasn't just a novelist, he was a chronicler of the American soul, a man both dazzled and destroyed by the world he tried to capture in words. Francis Fitzgerald was born in 1896 in St. Paul, Minnesota. He was named after his distant relative, the man who wrote the Star Spangled Banner, and maybe that destiny followed him, because, like the anthem, Fitzgerald's writing became a soundtrack to the American spirit. From a young age, he was obsessed with status and elegance. He came from a middle class background but longed to be part of the glamorous elite he saw at dances and country clubs. This desire, this ache to belong to a world just out of reach, would haunt him for the rest of his life. He attended Princeton's University but never graduated. His academic performance was shaky, but his literary passion burned bright. During World War I, he enlisted in the army, convinced he'd die before publishing a novel. He didn't, but the world ended before he ever saw combat. It was after the war that he met Zelda Sire, a Southern socialite who would become his wife, muse, and eventually his tragedy. Their relationship was wild, romantic, destructive, full of champagne and chaos. Together, they embodied the spirit of the Roaring Twenties. Moving to his works and his American impact, uh, Fitzgerald's first novel, The Side of Paradise, in 1920, uh, was an instant hit. It made him rich and famous overnight and gave voice to a new generation, disillusioned by war but hungry for life. He followed it with the beautiful and Damed, which is written in 1922, and then The Great Gatsby in 1925, a book that was mostly ignored during his lifetime. His later works include Tender is the Night, 1934, a haunting story about mental illness and decline, and The Unfinished, The Last Tycoon, published after his death. Though Fitzgerald struggled financially and emotionally for much of his life, dying in 1940 at just 44, his writing has only grown in influence. Today, he's considered one of the greatest American writers of the 20th century. His work captures the contradiction of the American spirit, its ambition and emptiness, its glitter and grief. Moving to the American dream after talking about his works, promise or illusion? What about his American dream? Let's talk about this. His American dream, that powerful idea that anyone, no matter where they start, can succeed through hard work and determination. That's what Gatsby believes. He reinvents himself from a poor farm boy into a wealthy legend. He builds an empire just to be worthy of Daisy. But Fitzgerald doesn't show the dream fulfilled. He shows it's corrupted. Gatsby achieves wealth, but not respect. He wins Daisy's attention, but not her loyalty. The closer he gets to the dream, the more it slips away. In the end, Gatsby dies alone, and the dream, it dies with him. Fitzgerald is asking us, is the dream real? Is the American dream real? Or is it just another illusion, sold to us like a glowing light across the water? Re- Recurring themes in his work, Fitzgerald's stories aren't just about the rich, they're about what we think wealth can buy. His characters often chase beauty, success, or love only to discover that illusion is not reality. Some of his work, some of his powerful themes include the American dream, its promises and its falling, and then class and social mobility, the invisible lines we can't cross, love versus possession, especially in romantic obsession, disillusionment when the dream crumbles, time and memory, the past as both treasure and trap. In The Great Gatsby, all of these come together. It's a novel soaked in nostalgia, yearning, and quiet despair. What is Fitzgerald trying to say? This novel isn't just a critique of love or class, it's a moral wake up call. He's trying to tell us we are a nation of dreamers, but sometimes our dreams destroy us. He shows us characters who are empty inside, rich, yes, but disconnected, careless, and numb. They hurt others and walk away without guilt. They're not villains in the traditional sense, but their indifference is deadly. Fitzgerald is showing us what happens when appearance becomes more important than substance, when love becomes possessions, and when people become shadow of their own desire. Literary theory applied to Fitzgerald. Many critics have analyzed Fitzgerald's work through different theoretical lenses, and here are a few keys of them. Psychoanalytical theory, especially with the character like Gatsby who repress their true selves and build grand fantasies, the desire of recreate the past is a fraudulent struggle Gatsby can never win. Marxist theory, focusing on class struggle, Gatsby's dream is crushed not just by Daisy's indifference, but by a system that doesn't allow him to truly rise. Old money always wins. Feminist theory, examining women like Daisy and Jordan who live under social expectations but also manipulate the roles they're given. And his new historism, reading his work as a mirror of 1920s America, the post war disillusionment, the consumer culture, the rise of materialism and moral decay. Why is it, in my opinion, I think that the theory is a psychoanalytic story. Why is it? Now, let me tell you why. Let's step up into theory for a moment because The Great Gatsby is rich with psychological depth. Through a psychoanalytic lens, we can see Gatsby as a man driven not by logic, but they repressed desire. He is obsessed with the past, with control, with an idealized version of Daisy that never truly existed. His life becomes a performance shaped by fantasy and fear of rejection. Gatsby's mansion, his clothes, even his name, everything is carefully constructed. He's not chasing Daisy, he's chasing security, identity, worth, things he lacked as a young poor boy. Daisy, for her part, becomes a symbol of validation, not a person, but a prize. Nick? What about Nick? The narrator watches all of his unfold and struggles with his own moral ambiguity. He claims to be honest, objective, yet he's clearly drawn to Gatsby's myth. So, yes, this novel is deeply psychoanalytic because it's a story about longing, repression, and the false self was constructed to be loved. And at last, Fitzgerald's reflection. Um Fitzgerald once wrote, "Show me a hero, and I'll write you a tragedy." And that's exactly what he did. Jay Gatsby is a tragic hero, not just because he failed, but because he believed. He believed too much in love and dreams and the possibility of changing who we are. The Great Gatsby is not just a novel, it's a mirror. It shows us our hopes, our lies, our yearning to be more than we are. It's about the price we pay to be seen, to be remembered, to be loved. This has been my exploration of Francis Scott Fitzgerald and The Great Gatsby, a story about a man who built a palace for a dream, a woman who couldn't live up to it, and a world that punishes the dreamers. Thank you all for listening. I hope we all learned a great moral and message behind this, or from this story, The Great Gatsby, from the great author Fitzgerald. Thank you, everyone.